Okay, hey everyone, welcome to The Field Between. I'm Ahmed,
And I'm Yasmin.
and if you're noticing a significant drop in audio quality, it's because we are recording directly on the laptop microphone from our hotel in Alexandria.
Live from Egypt. Misal.
Yeah. So, what do you think of Egypt?
I have so many thoughts. I want to go chronologically with my thoughts.
Okay.
Let's start with the plane ride.
Okay, you're gonna have to get much closer to this microphone.
Plane ride. Terrible.
Pretty bad.
Long.
Pretty bad plane ride, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like really hot. This one guy looked like he was about to pass out.
One guy did pass out.
Did he actually pass out?
Yeah.
That was crazy. And then after he passed out, they made it cold. And I was like, why didn't they do that earlier? If they had the technology ability.
Yeah. They made it incredibly hot in our economy class cabin.
Yeah.
And the guy, when I saw him, there was a couple of people around him, and they were fanning him and giving him water. And he got up and he was really sweaty, and you could tell his kid was really worried about him.
Yeah.
Just why did they? Because I was trying to sleep, and I also was just I was telling you that when we got on the plane, I was like, oh, I should have brought a hoodie for the plane, but I don't.
Usually it's cold, yeah.
Didn't want to pack it, and then I was regretting the decision. But then, midway through my sleeping, I was like, it's really hot in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, this elderly man just passed out, and after that, they decided, oh, let's not cook these people alive.
Also, my seat wouldn't move back. The food was decent. Yeah, it was all right.
Food was okay.
It was long.
There
For
was
plane
one
food,
kid.
It was pretty good.
There was one kid that was just, because they were on our entire journey, even after our
Transfer
layover,
through Istanbul, yeah.
just screeching, shrieking the whole time.
I think he was possessed.
Yeah, he must have been. He's possessed
Yeah, it
with
was
something.
consistent.
But the kid had stamina. It was really annoying. I usually don't. Obviously, you usually have some level of patience because
Right,
you're
people
the
don't
parents.
they don't have a choice but to
they're stressed.
travel with their kids.
But this kid was shrieking the entire time, and it seemed like the parent was just not even trying to do anything about it.
I couldn't tell, honestly, but yeah, it was pretty loud.
The other kids, I'm assuming his siblings, were kind of egging him on to make him shriek, and the mom was just not doing anything.
Just gave up. Honestly, fair enough. I'm sure it's stressful.
Yeah.
Layover in Istanbul was cool. The
Istanbul
airport is beautiful.
Is incredible.
Yeah, we've wanted to go there for a long time, and we only saw the airport obviously, but it kind of increased my desire to go there. It also just really felt like a crossroads. I won't go off on a tangent, but I think the Muslim world is a construct, but if it did exist, it might exist at the Istanbul airport. It was very sweet. There were so many Desis on their way to Pakistan and India. There were so many folks who were headed to Egypt or elsewhere in the Middle East, to Dubai. There was a lot of Russians. It was just such an interesting mix of people, and that was really cool.
Look at this. I'm tapping the sign.
All right. Keep going. Keep it going, mister.
Tapping this is where you want your levels.
I'm going to try and project.
It was a huge international airport. I don't think Istanbul, I don't know. I haven't been to enough major international airports, but I would guess there are a bunch of other ones. Dubai probably feels more of a...
I just hate Dubai so much. It's hard for me to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, Dubai... I don't know. I mean, yeah, Dubai's obviously a big mix of people, too.
Dubai's...
But I just the Dubai airport, I mean, the Dubai airport is interesting, as you know. I know you had a little interest in it for a while, just watching that video. But, yeah, I had a layover just for 12 hours with my dad on our way to Pakistan, and that was enough time for me for a lifetime in Dubai.
Yeah.
Just seeing... I mean, look, all places have problems, obviously, but maybe it felt a little more personal just seeing that, all the laborers were South Asian. It was kind of depressing, but...
Yeah. Tapping the sign. Yeah. But I guess in terms of it feeling like a crossroads of
this felt
Asia,
different to me because
Europe,
it's I think Europe. I mean,
North Africa.
In Turkey, you're directly on the border with Europe. You know what I mean? Dubai is not. I mean, obviously there are people who still transfer through there, going everywhere.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of people who transfer through there are going either to the Middle East or South Asia, or Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
You wouldn't really transfer through Dubai to go to Russia, probably the way you would Turkey.
I would.
But I mean, the flights might not transfer through in the same way. If if you're going to Morocco, you're going to transfer through the former colonial power through France. Like there's certain routes that make sense because of like different histories and patterns, I think. And
Yeah.
anyway, that was that. And then the second flight was short, but we were exhausted because we barely slept on the first one, so we were like kind of nodding off, or at least I was.
Yeah.
And then we landed, and the Cairo airport was laid back, not particularly nice, but easy enough to
nice.
yeah, it's not like easy enough to navigate. And we got in late, which was kind of a good thing because we were so exhausted. We got in at like 10:30 p.m. like
Yeah.
Egyptian time.
Uh-huh.
So we like fell asleep as soon as we got to the hotel, and that kind of worked out because then we woke up the next morning still a little tired, but like kind of I feel like we didn't really deal with jet lag as much because we were just like hadn't slept for 24 hours and we slept through the whole night.
Yeah.
And then any thoughts before we get into our first day?
The airport sucked. It
felt
it's fine.
It's like the city has a lot of really like areas that are very built up and stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit surprising. I mean, to be fair though, I grew up in New York, and like for the longest time JFK was like such a ridiculously shabby airport.
Yeah.
So it's not like airports always match cities, but I think I was expecting something like a little more, I don't know, formal feeling, or like just, I don't know, more amenities, something.
You would think for a country that's kind of obsessed with its outward appearance to other people, especially, European and American tourists, it would want for its first impression to be at least superficially like good, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of like how,
but it's
the
very
fact that it didn't match reminded me of like how
Yeah.
JFK was when I was a kid. JFK changed a lot,
but it's not even like a gilded airport or anything.
no, it's very
kind of
shabby,
chaotic.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I don't even worry about the chaos. It's just like that it was like shabby. Like the actual infrastructure was shabby.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's shabbier than a lot of the city is. Like the city has quite a bit of wealth, so it's just kind of interesting. Yeah. Not evenly distributed, as is the case with many cities, but yeah. Yeah.
And lots of informal systems, like the whole pickup area.
That's so
just
many
the traffic,
airports,
but
though.
that's-
Yeah, thankfully we had good instructions from a family member, so we were able to navigate to the Uber without getting confused. But
That's it.
yeah, and then the hotel was lovely. It was definitely like a pricier option considering how you could travel here, but I think it was worth it for us. It was nice to be really comfortable, and it was its own kind of like scene that was fun to explore and see. It was located in Zamalek, which is like an island, but like right next to the city, like kind of like how Brooklyn is adjacent to Manhattan, except for technically those are the same cities. It feels like it's in the city basically, but it's a little bit more low key than a lot of the city, I would say, like a tiny bit more laid back.
Yeah.
It's still plenty busy. A lot of the embassies are located there, so it's like
A lot of the tourists go there too.
yeah, but it's not just, I mean, definitely it is more expat-y than other parts of the city, but it's not just that. It's definitely a mix of folks, including a lot of Egyptians. So
Yeah.
I think, I think it was a good place for our first visit. And honestly, like if we were ever to spend like an extended amount of time here, I would highly consider that neighborhood because it just feels like a little easier to navigate than some other areas.
Yeah.
It was very pretty, very kind of like colonial type architecture, but very nice. Yeah, first day we just kind of we had breakfast at the hotel because we were just tired and like I just like wanted to like have breakfast there, not to navigate. And then
We got the breakfast buffet at the Omar Khayyam Hotel and
by
Casino.
name call out.
Yeah.
I still don't know if the casino was actually a casino.
We never found out
Continue.
what the casino is. I think it's just a place to hang out.
I think it might
it's
actually
not
be
even-
gambling because they had like plenty of alcohol at the hotel, so I wouldn't be surprised if they also had gambling.
I don't think they have gambling.
Well, they have alcohol.
I don't.
All
But
right.
yeah, we just like didn't really think about it, and we went down and got the breakfast buffet, and we are like, at most, this is gonna cost us
$20, $15.
£1,000.
Yeah, so it's 50 Egyptian pounds to
So
$1.
£1,000 is $20.
Yeah.
And that's expensive.
Very
for a
expensive for anything here.
breakfast. And we had it, and I had like a pretty
it was very meh. It was not even good.
omelet. It was
Yeah.
and then
The coffee was really burnt.
coffee was awful.
The atmosphere is beautiful. Like the hotel is gorgeous,
The vibes
particularly like
were
the
great.
garden and like
Yeah.
it was built by one of the Ottoman rulers in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So gorgeous. Like he built it as a place for visiting foreign dignitaries, and it's really beautiful.
Ismail.
Yeah, Khedive. It was, and it's interesting because like nationalized under Nasser, but now it's owned by the Marriott. So it's been through a lot. But yeah, breakfast was terrible. That's the most expensive thing that we've had here. Was that awful breakfast?
It cost us $40.
Yeah,
I'm even
since-
embarrassed to say how
Honestly,
much it
since
cost.
then we've
It's,
been like, we have not been doing that. So I'm proud. We had like amazing meals for like $20. Yeah.
$10.
But most of
even.
our meals have been like $5-10. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've had like expensive meals for like, for less than that. So that was an initial mistake.
I think aside from the souvenir shopping in Cairo, we spent like a total of like $100 or $200 on food.
Or on everything. Transportation, Ubers. I think we spent
$40 of that was the breakfast.
Right. And we
On
spent
the
more
first
on
day.
like, we bought like gifts for ourselves and for friends. But that was like a choice. We didn't have
Yeah,
to spend
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So if you were trying to like, be pretty comfortable. Yeah. So anyway, initial mistake. And then we wandered around Zamalek, which was, I think, a really nice, easy first day. Just kind of get ourselves oriented. We were so lucky, truly, like, so genuinely blessed to have, like, several friends who gave us amazing recommendations.
Yeah.
So we really were just kind of, like, following their cues and looking at spots that they had recommended, and that was just so nice. This is the first trip I've done this, but I think I'll always do it now. We, like, saved everywhere that we wanted to go, and we didn't get to all of them, but we saved anything that we were kind of interested in on Google Maps. And it was really nice because as we were walking around, we'd just be like, oh, that's the place that so-and-so mentioned. And I think we ended up with like 50 places saved, which is just kind of cool. Like we can always go back. I like unsaved ones that I think I unsaved like one thing that I had initially saved but we didn't like. And it's just like, kind of nice to have that memory there.
Yeah.
We went to the Cairo Tower. I thought that was a little disappointing. What do you think? I was really nervous because it was like a really, an elevator that goes really high up and I don't like elevators. So I was proud of myself. That was good. But it was like an okay view. For some reason, it was kind of hard to see. It's like the
you
tallest.
didn't have your glasses on. That's probably. What do you mean it was hard
I
to
just
see?
mean, like,
It's a
I don't
giant
know.
tower.
I didn't feel like it was a particularly good view.
It was like an unfettered 360-degree view of the city.
But it's like, I don't know. It's not like a place in the city that like is close to anything. I don't know. I just didn't really think. Would you
What are you
recommend
talking
it?
about? It's in Zamalek. It's in the island in the middle of the city, and
Okay.
you get a 300. I thought it was a good view.
Okay.
I thought so. The Cairo Tower, I think, was the first kind of touristy thing we did.
Yeah. Besides that, we were mostly popping around like smaller little boutique stores.
Yeah. So it was kind of our first go at getting through. I don't know if people know this, but this is a police state.
Can you publish this after we leave Egypt, please?
And so
Wait,
when
I want to go on record if anyone pulls this up through immigration that
Yeah.
Ahmed Amr does not speak for me. Continue. You believe this is a police state?
yeah. So that is my opinion,
Okay.
but meaning that anytime you go, and this is the truth for any sort of touristy place,
Yeah.
the check-in has police, and that's the face of tourism here in the country.
It's really a shame.
And just kind of going back to these informal systems, there are ticket prices. There are different ticket prices for Egyptians versus
American
versus
or non-Egyptians.
tourists.
Yeah.
And then to kind of prove that you are an Egyptian, if you have your ID or whatever and you kind of look like you're from here, you're easy, right, to get in. But if you're kind of like me, someone who's been living abroad your entire life,
But your Arabic is quite good.
but you know the language, you don't have the papers.
You had a like picture of your birth certificate, which you had
I had-
hung up quite a bit.
Yeah, I had a picture of my
But
birth
you don't have like a
certificate.
nationality card. You could get one, but you haven't. Yeah.
I haven't gotten one.
Yeah. Wait, we should say for context, I think we said this in other episodes, but just really quickly in case you're tuning in and you haven't for a while. So Ahmed's family immigrated from Egypt when he was 5. So this is his first time back. He's 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
So you're kind of in like this middle zone where you have to kind of prove that you're Egyptian, and there
Kind of
are
existential.
yeah. So I mean, this is only if you want to pay like the lower ticket price, which we did. We were obviously going to pay the higher ticket price for you.
A few places we didn't. It really varied. Or we played like in between. It really
Yeah.
was all over the map, honestly. We ended up showing like Instagram photos from our wedding at some places to prove that we were
To prove that we're married.
Because we don't have a copy of our marriage certificate, which we should get.
Yeah. So what they try to do is that if they sense that you can be taken advantage of, they will try and make it seem like they're doing you a favor. So, we get through. I pay the Egyptian price.
For both of us, I think. I can't remember in this case because it changed so much depending on the site. But I think
that's right. Yeah,
I think it was actually Egyptian price for both of us for this one.
For this one, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, they were saying, oh, well, you have a camera that's above a certain megapixel, which he was, instead of the megapixel, he just didn't know what he was talking about. He was reading the focus length on the lens.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I didn't realize that.
And I was like, it's not 50 megapixels. That would be insane. That's a crazy sensor.
I don't even know anything about cameras. That's just funny that he was like bullshitting and riffing.
It's like a 14 megapixel camera with a 50 millimeter lens, and he was looking at the lens. Anyway, so he was like, oh, this is like, you have to have like a 300 pound like pass for the camera. And I was like, I'm not going to use it, or whatever. And it's also not 50 megapixels, just so you know. Whatever. I was trying to explain it to him, but he seemed like certain, like he just like knew. And he made it seem like he was doing us a favor by letting us in without paying for this. And he's like, you and I will, like, on your way out, you'll just give me a little something. And I was like, all right, whatever. So we get through, and it wasn't like, obviously, like, it sounds annoying, but you just get through and then you come the way out. I thought the view was pretty good. That's about it. Like, it wasn't anything, like, I didn't want to hang out in the cafe. It wasn't like a particularly great cafe up there. There are other people trying to sell you other stuff at the very top.
Not too aggressively, though, I would say.
No, they go away. That's the thing, actually. So, like, before we even arrived here, I mean, it's good because I think we just had the right expectations.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, oh, you guys shouldn't go by yourselves. Oh, you shouldn't go this time of year. Because people are just gonna, well, we shouldn't go this time of year because it's really hot, and it is really hot, but it was doable. It was
doable with the right fabrics and kind of strategic moments of pause, and
Yeah, we prepared for that. And then the other thing is, everyone was just like afraid that we were constantly going to be taken advantage of, and people come up to you and they do try to sell you shit, and they do try to, like at the gate, the police do try to take advantage of you sometimes. But if you kind of just force your way through the interaction, you're just like, I'm good. Yeah. People leave you alone. Like, no one actually,
I would say honestly that
makes you feel in danger or anything.
The police are more annoying. I feel like the people who try to sell us goods, like, they're insistent, and obviously, like, they are economically strained, and, but they don't follow you or anything. They'll like ask once or twice and then they stop. The police are more annoying because you have no choice but to interact with them. Like, if you need a ticket for the exhibit, you can't just like walk away,
Right, and they have they have the ability to kind of make things harder.
Right.
Especially if if they really wanted, they could be like, well, we're just going to charge you the
exactly
foreigner price for 10 times more.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people made it seem as if we would be like overwhelmed by people like trying to sell us stuff, like random vendors and people asking for money, and I feel like that really hasn't been the case. Like, every time we've said no, I mean, like, no one's followed us. I mean, it's all relative, honestly. That's a thing that's good to remember too. It's relative to what you're expecting. It's relative to what you're familiar with. Like, I also think that like your Arabic is very strong, and so like that helped us a lot. That
was surprising to me. I was considering just telling people, oh, I'm American, which I mean, I am.
It's a terrible technique.
Well, I mean,
you mean like the ticket people, not like random vendors and stuff.
Well, if people ask, if we're getting tickets, just being like, hey, like I'm American, right? Like, I don't have the ID, I don't have, because I in my head I was just like, oh, my Arabic is not sufficient to actually get through these interactions. But I actually was surprised. And I think quite a few people actually, like some of the other police officers we talked to, and like a lot of other people who we just kind of interacted with, they were like, oh, like, you haven't forgotten your Arabic.
Yeah, and I think also
they were surprised.
It's not like you're trying to like pull one over on them within the context of their own system. Because you were born here, they kind of recognize you. Like they it's not like they thought you had a right to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously they expect you to argue for it a little bit and argue for me, but like, it's not as if they're like, no one was like upset by you trying to argue for that ticket price. So
and I was surprised. There was actually one officer we ended up talking to for a while. This was another day, but he was just like, don't, because he asked, he's like, where are you from? And I told him I'm from America.
But you're from Alexandria.
No,
right?
but I just told him, I'm from America. I was born here, but I was from America. And he was just like, you still know the language.
Nah.
You look Egyptian. Like, don't tell me you're American.
That's
just
sweet.
Like,
there's also kind of a sweetness to that, and like a sadness, but a sweetness to
that. And he was just like telling me, he's like, Arabic is the most important language.
You didn't tell me
So
that.
it's good
That's
that
cute.
he's like, it's good that you remembered it and that you know it.
Yeah,
Always
yeah.
remember it.
Props to your parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say also just with the relativeness with people following you, just like based on other travel experiences I've had, I've had it's much worse like in Fez and Morocco. It's also way worse in other cities in Morocco, like Marrakesh. Like you get followed for like, I mean I've been followed for blocks. So I really don't
Yeah.
think it's that. I'm saying this in terms of people trying to sell you stuff. I'm sure that the harassment is terrible here if you're single. I didn't experience that because I was with Ahmed. So
Yeah.
but in terms of like people trying to sell you stuff or people who are desperate who are looking for assistance, I really don't think. I think it's very manageable, personally. But again, that's
Very.
relative. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, not to kind of overlook anything, but we had a relatively not frictionless, but like easy experience because we kind of just, luckily, we have the money to be able to get around fairly easily.
Like in terms of taking Ubers and stuff. Yeah.
Taking Ubers, and my Arabic is sufficient for getting us around.
And we have the privilege of being Americans, obviously.
And we
The
are
reason,
Americans,
even
yeah.
in addition to like being economically secure in the U.S., even if we were less economically secure than we are, the exchange rate it's insane, and the inflation here is insane.
You
So
gotta
it's
speak.
not
Look at
that.
the levels.
Okay, stop. I'll get better. Because the exchange rate is so much in our favor. Obviously, it's easy for us to move around here. But I would say not without that, because that is the main thing. But I think in a lot of places in the world, like if you just like are not fearful but kind of like keep a cool head, like you'll be okay. I don't know if that's like a too dumb of a thing to say, but I think it's true.
It's hard to do. I mean, it's like a very busy city. It's probably the busiest city I've ever.
Me too.
Been in.
Actually, this is definitely the busiest city I've ever been in. But my heart really likes busy cities.
Yeah.
I feel like comfortable in them. I think there's something about like chaos that kind of like centers you. I was thinking about that a lot actually. Like I kind of miss that. We live in a smaller city now that, yeah. Anyway, that was our first day, and then we went to get koshari that night,
We did.
and that was more in like downtown.
That was a very touristy spot called Abu Tariq that a
But
lot
it
of people
also
go to.
it wasn't like touristy though. It was a ton of Egyptians. It was almost all
There was a lot of
Egyptian. I think we
Egyptians,
saw
yeah,
only
that's
one other
true.
tourist there.
That's
It was
true.
famous, but it was like locally famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. All they sell is koshari, which is
Pretty
great.
good. Yeah.
And this is another like sweet interaction where like I think we found this a lot, and it was very touching that the waiters were like really excited that you were coming back.
Yeah.
I think that's like a very sweet, sincere thing that I didn't think to expect. Like how many people were like excited that you were visiting Egypt, and
Well,
like
I think
very
they were
genuine.
also excited because they knew we would tip more than the
I
average.
think that's true, but I
person.
think there's still a sweetness
But there was
there.
there,
Like
it
the
wasn't.
one guy,
It didn't feel disingenuous. Like
yeah,
it
like
was,
the one guy was like, oh, when you go to Han al-Khalili, which is like a market, he was like, make sure you don't hire a guide. He was like giving you advice. Like it was cute.
Actually, yeah, I think he told us to not hire a guide, and then another person said to not hire a guide for the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, so what is that? That was the mint from the tea.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was cool. And that part of the city is obviously like less touristy than Zamalek or less expat-y.
Yeah.
So that was really fun to walk around. Something I love about Cairo that I didn't know is it's such a late night city, which I absolutely love. I like really miss that in Pittsburgh. I forgot how much I miss that. I think it's so fun to walk around a city and just have it be so alive at night.
Yeah.
Like all of the cafes are open till like 1 or 2. I mean, some were even open till 4 a.m. It's also just like nice if you don't drink, which we don't, like to have a culture that revolves around like late night cafes and restaurants.
It's very nice.
It's super fun. It was just really fun walking around.
And Zamalek just has a lot of Zamalek has a ton of cafes that are just right next to one another. The same way that in the U.S. you would see bars just right next to one another.
It's basically the equivalent to bars in the U.S., I think. Like,
Yeah.
it's young people of all ages. Like, there's different cafes for different vibes and different groups of people. But super nice. Love that. I feel bad. I feel like I don't know why I'm comparing it to Morocco. I think I thought that there was going to be more similarities between Morocco and Egypt than there are, just because they're both like in North Africa. But I expected more gender segregation in the cafes, and that was not really the case. They were pretty mixed, which is nice. I mean, there were some
Yeah.
like old man cafes in downtown, which is actually very cute. Like older men all watching like the football or like soccer games together.
Right.
But I think that's
Zamalek
lovely.
is a different vibe.
But
than
Zamalek
that.
is
Yeah.
more like young and like I think like a different class, like more like
Yeah.
people with more money. But yeah, we walked from the kosheri place, Abu Tariq, which was really good. Kosheri is like a really fun meal of all just carbs, basically. Yeah, it's really tasty. We walked from there to Tahrir Square because
Tahrir,
we
yeah.
wanted to see that, which is where like the revolution happened and stuff, and it was just manned by 4 men. I think it's manned 24/7, so you cannot completely go up to it.
They have it blocked off pretty much. Yeah, we actually didn't see them at first, but
Yeah, we didn't know.
we tried to walk up to the middle, and a man appeared out of the darkness and
Yeah.
just told us we could not go any further. So, and then we saw later that there were actually like armed police stationed nearby to make sure that no one approached it. Obviously trying to, I suppose they're somewhat still concerned with the symbolism of the place. Again, just kind of getting back to the police state part of this. But it struck me as weird that there are just like so many people's jobs are just to stand around.
Yeah.
Right. And there are all these big infrastructure projects that are happening and also need to happen. And so much of a lot of people are just standing around
Well,
or getting
the
paid to stand around.
infrastructure projects that are happening in the new city.
Not just in the new city, but they are building other new cities, right? Like they're building a new Giza.
Yeah, but they're not happening like in downtown Cairo. It didn't look like.
No, but that's where I'm saying like there are big infrastructure projects that are happening and big ones that need to happen.
Yeah, it definitely should happen. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe clean the Nile. Who knows? But
I mean, hey, we can't talk, but yeah.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I think obviously they are worried about the symbolism. So we just kind of went up as far as we could and then walked back.
Yeah. Took an Uber home.
Yep. We that was up until that point probably the for you the scariest street we crossed.
Yes, my big as they say on TikTok, my Roman Empire, my scary thing here has been crossing the street, which I anticipated.
Yeah.
It's very nerve-wracking, but I'm getting the hang of
Looks
it.
like my mom should have been talking to you the whole time. So crossing the street is kind of, it's, for no doubt, it is dangerous because the traffic in Cairo, the
traffic is insane.
Yeah, I would say I can't tell if it's worse here yet. This is our first day in Alexandria, so we're not even sure.
Yeah. We haven't seen much yet. Yeah.
It seems worse here.
Oh,
like,
I think it's better here.
crossing on the Corniche is like way more dangerous.
But like
I
when we
think.
got to like the train station, it was way less overwhelming. I don't
Uh,
know. We'll keep you
we
updated.
didn't cross the street at the train station.
That's true, but just the train station itself. But yeah, in Cairo at least, which we got to see a decent amount of, it just like there don't seem to be lanes. There are so many cars. There's such persistent honking that it kind of just creates like a light backdrop. It's not even like jarring because like literally, and there's one night I couldn't sleep very well, and like literally throughout the night, like 5 a.m. people still honking. It's so intense.
Yeah, so you just have to be decisive and gauge the speed of the cars and be able to kind of read the traffic a little bit, and then everything's okay.
See object
Yeah.
episode. We'll put it in the show
So
notes. I have a
you-
hard time gauging like distance and space.
Yeah. And so I tried to hold your hand crossing some of these streets, but what ends up happening is that when I'm like, oh, this is a good opening for us, you don't go, and you actually even pull me back. And we were having this issue where like you were actually pulling me back as I was trying to cross the street.
We're
and
not
so
doing that anymore.
Yeah, we're not
adapted.
doing it,
So we
yeah.
we don't hold hands, and I think if I don't feel ready,
that's dangerous.
because that is dangerous. Yeah, you should be able to go at your own instincts. Now we just kind of cross at our own pace, and sometimes it takes me a little bit longer than Ahmed, but we get there.
There is somewhat of an understanding where they like see you and they also are assuming that you're being decisive and going a certain
Yeah,
speed. So they're like, oh, he'll be out of my way. I'll adjust my speed. And so there's kind of, but if you start to hesitate, then it kind of throws things off, and that makes it more dangerous.
Oh, I'm doing my best. We're making it work. My strategy is to make direct eye contact and plead with my eyes, like, don't kill me.
Yeah, just look as sorry as possible.
Yeah, but we're making it. I think I'm getting a little bit better. I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're just crossing now when it's empty, which is like, when does that happen? You know.
You have to wait like 2 minutes tops. You're fine.
Yeah.
I'm a fast walker. Besides that,
Here you've kind of defaulted to walking behind me, which is a little weird. It makes it seem like we're like some weird conservative couple.
I think that in most streets there just isn't room to walk next to you.
I don't know.
It's not like intentional. I don't think
You
it's
just
a thing.
keep walking behind.
I'm following you.
That's a good job. Yeah.
Uh,
What was it? That was.
quick note on the
Walking
heat. I
around
think we
the
did a good
page.
job packing with like layers and stuff. Yeah, I mean it is really hot. I'm not gonna lie. Like it is incredibly hot.
It was in 105.
Yeah, that was our worst day, I think. But we have been taking air conditioned Ubers.
Yeah.
The days that we were like shopping, like our first day in Zematic, we took like, you know, a lot of all the stores that we were going to were air conditioned, so we got regular breaks that way. We've been really careful with hydrating. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I think if you're relatively healthy, I think if you have like some health concerns, I could totally see being worried about that. But if you're relatively healthy and you dress appropriately, like linen, cotton, light shawls, you know, whatever, I think it's pretty doable. But it is hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else did we do?
Okay, so the next day, so our second full day in Egypt, we did like old Islamic Cairo, like old Cairo.
Yeah, so that was cool. We went to Masjid Sultan Al Hassan, and
So the
then
first thing we did was go to Bakarat Al Ghori.
oh yeah, which
Yeah.
was cool. That
So
was
so you should talk about it first.
yeah. So
First
Wakalat
explain what it is, then tell yeah.
Wakalat Al Ghori was one of the like inns in the caravanserai kind of like network. It was built in Egypt, I think, under the Fatimid dynasty. Is that right?
I'll look it up while you keep talking.
But it was built in the 16th century. I think it was one of the last ones kind of built in Egypt, and it just functioned as an inn. The fountain, or like little thing in the middle, has a mosaic that we actually use for the caravanserai logo. Is kind of based on the geometry of that Mamluk dynasty. Okay.
Yeah, it was built in 1500.
Wait, the architecture is Mamluk, but how?
It was built in the Mamluk
Yeah.
dynasty, yeah.
Okay.
And it was built in 1504.
Yeah. So 16th century. Yeah, and I've been wanting to go for a long time.
And you went when you were young, right? You had a memory of that.
Yeah, so I mean, when I was young, it's around Azhar, so
Yeah.
it's like all once you go through all that, you can do them all at once. But we went, again
That was like our first stop.
very informal system for getting tickets. We did the whole like
Deal.
I'm
Yeah,
Egyptian,
yeah.
she's
I
not.
think I paid more for this one, or I think you didn't pay it all, and I paid, yeah.
Right. And then again, an issue with the camera.
I thought this one was so cute though, because Ahmed was taking so many pictures of the structure, because it's like a structure that has a lot of meaning to him and
hold
stuff.
on. Before that, yes. So we start going in, and he's like, go in. We take pictures, and he's like, oh, there's another £100 you need to pay to be able to take pictures, and we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll pay the £100.
It's like what, $4?
No, £100 is $2.
Oh, $2. That's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So we did it, and I was like, yeah. And then I was taking pictures of the building, like really just trying to capture it, trying to get like little details in the doors and like the lights between the columns and the mosaic, and like it's a gorgeous building.
Very simple, but very lovely, yeah.
Yeah. Like I've looked at pictures of this courtyard
A lot.
a ton online,
Yeah.
and I just like seeing it in person was.
Especially when you're making a logo.
Yeah. And then he comes back and he's just like, why are you taking all these pictures? And I was just confused. And he's like, pictures you take of each other. Well, like he's like, no one takes pictures of just the building. And I was just like, what's the problem? And he's just like, what are you doing with all these pictures? So some people here, and we can get into this more later, but there is just, for obvious reasons, a paranoia around cameras. And then I actually did speak to my dad about this interaction later. This seems less like paranoia and more just like being an asshole. um, because we paid the £100, which arguable whether or not we had to do it. We just sometimes you just kind of, if someone tries to extract a little bit more money from you, you're just like, all right, whatever, right? Like at the end of the day, this is $2. I'm gonna make sure I don't like get taken a ton of advantage of, but this is fine, like why make a problem?
Yeah, especially when the like loss to you is so
Yeah.
little. Yeah.
But I was talking to my parents, and they're like, "You should have just told him to fuck off." Like,
Well, didn't your dad and your mom have different takes? I thought they were
Yeah,
both
yeah.
actually kind of valid, but
So-
just
so-
different ways of going about it.
my dad was like, "You should tell him to fuck off," and my mom was like, "Well, if
What's
you're by
$2
yourself."
to you, basically? Yeah.
Not about the $2, but about like him saying, "Oh, I can't take pictures of the building, even if I paid
like,
the
why
pass."
create a problem?
Because
Yeah.
he was trying to say that we needed a license from the government
Well, I
to
think he
take
was under the
pictures.
misunderstanding whether or not it was sincere or not, or he was thinking that you were somehow using these pictures for profit, or that they were like commercial, and that like why would you just take pictures of the building without like taking tourist photos, which
Yeah.
he understands to be of like people, which is kind of cute because you love his building so much. I maybe not that many people take that many detailed shots of it.
Who knows? Yeah, but it was just kind of annoying, and I'd gotten most of the shots that I wanted to get by this point, so
Then we just like
Wasn't a
kept on
huge
taking
deal.
photos. I mean, we were gonna take some photos of each other, but like to make a point, we took a few more of each other.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but that was really cool to see. I felt like that was like really, before the guy kind of ruined our moment. I thought that was kind of like not emotional, but like it felt to me very poignant and sweet seeing you there.
Yeah.
It was nice just kind of watching you walk around.
Yeah.
Um,
Then we went to Azhar.
yeah, Azhar was so
Masjid.
much chiller than I thought it would be. Like Al Azhar is like both a school and an institution and a mosque, and it's kind of like the premier, like worldwide, really like legal. I mean, it does. So there's no like papacy in Islam and Sunni Islam, so there's not like a single source of authority, but it is often cited as like, oh, someone from Azhar said a fatwa about X. Like it is kind of seen as like a preeminent Sunni authority still today, and it's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It was way chiller than I expected. I kind of like, I don't know. I didn't feel nervous going in, but I was kind of like, what's the scene gonna be like? But it was actually like very laid back and very sweet.
Very laid back. We walked in
Yeah.
together, same entrance.
Yeah, that really surprised me. Actually, that's been the case everywhere here, and I
Yeah.
did not expect that at all. I mean,
Yeah. You have
good luck
separate-
finding a mosque in the U.S. that has a same entrance for men and women.
So we walked in, same entrance. Obviously, then we split off because
Yeah.
you went to a different prayer room.
Yeah, and I
but-
wasn't gonna pray at first, but then I ended up praying. 'cause
But
everyone
even
did.
we could walk in the courtyard together.
Yeah,
and like all
really
that.
low key, and
Yeah.
it was a lovely vibe. There were like people like kind of like napping by a Quran, and like it was
Yeah.
just very sweet and like chill.
I wonder. I mean, I don't know. I think there are a lot of. Aren't there a lot of Sufi like scholars at? Azhar?
Not really.
Not
no.
really.
There have been like different like waves of influence, but
Yeah.
overall, that's not the main vibe.
But anyway, yeah. So the thing that immediately got me is just, like I could barely keep my eyes open there because it was just so the marble
The
is so
floor and the
blindingly.
central, so picture like a courtyard, like there's a central marble courtyard, and then the prayer rooms are kind of like off on the sides.
Yeah.
But the prayer room is the main courtyard rather is open to the sky, and it's white marble. I thought it was beautiful
It is beautiful, but it's like it
because the sun is so hot and like bright.
We went there to
yeah.
pray Dohr, so the sun was at its highest.
Yeah, it's like
And
midday.
it was just reflecting off, and it was just impossible to keep your
I
eyes
told
open.
Ahmed, I thought it was kind of cool. I was like, like in movies and stuff, when people show like when you die, it's like blindingly
Yeah.
white.
Kind of, it felt like that.
Yeah. There was a lot
Actually-
of cute cats. There was a really cute little orange cat in the women's section that people were like passing around. There was this Egyptian lady next to me that kept trying to talk to me, but I couldn't understand her well enough, and I would get like a few words, but she was talking so fast. So
Yeah.
I just kind of was like, "Hey," and like
Yeah.
patted her.
So we prayed there. I actually didn't realize until I was leaving after prayer that there was just like a dead body wrapped in a shroud. They were doing a janazah.
a burial,
Yeah.
or a funeral. Yeah.
So that was like interesting to me that it was just like there in the room.
That it was so like almost casual, I guess, or that
Very
it wasn't, like,
casual.
yeah, you didn't know initially.
But I will say that was actually my second dead
Oh,
body
yeah,
I'd seen
I
that day
forgot
because
that.
when we were riding on our
Gosh,
way
is that
over.
the same day? That's weird.
Same day, yeah. So just speaking to the danger of the traffic is
Yeah.
on our way there, I'd seen a motorcyclist who had gotten into an accident and the body was just on the ground. Like I think that person had died. There was like so many
Super
people around
sad.
them, and
Yeah. Very,
and I
very
think
sad.
even the
I
day
didn't
before,
see that, thankfully.
you didn't see that.
That's
The
so sad.
day before, we were walking to a bakery or around a bakery, and we
Yeah.
saw two motorcyclists, or a motorcyclist and a bike
Collide, yeah.
collide. Luckily, that
guy was
okay.
okay. I mean, he might have been a little scraped out, but he was okay.
But I think
yeah.
this was a motorcyclist who had collided with a car.
Yeah.
So, and no one here wears
so see,
helmets.
the traffic is scary.
No one here wears helmets
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Like they're just zooming in and out of traffic, no helmet. Sometimes multiple people on a bike. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, praying at the Masjid al-Azhar was
Pretty chill.
really awesome.
And then we
what
went
did
to the mosque madrasa of Sultan Hassan. And that
Yes.
was, I think that's my favorite thing we saw.
The Sultan has, yeah, and then
Beautiful.
Rifai,
which
Masjid
is right
al-Rifai.
next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like literally next to each other.
I think to date, that's probably my favorite site we've seen.
Same. Yeah.
It was incredible.
It was just like the Sultan Hassan mosque was just like so beautiful. It was built in the Mamluk period, 1300s, so just like old as hell,
Crazy.
just really thick walls, just like incredible architecture.
Yeah.
Beautiful lamps inside, so peaceful. I think that they still do some prayers there, right? Like they do like Jummah and like maybe the
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
but it's like also kind of, it's open to anyone. So we saw people in there not wearing hijab and stuff, just like tourists walking around.
Yep.
So if it's not prayer times, anyone can go. And it was just really peaceful and beautiful. It's also really cool to see how like these really old pieces of infrastructure were built in such smart ways so that they're so much cooler than outside.
Yep.
Because of like the materials that they use and just kind of like the angles. There was even one room we were in that kind of complex that felt like it had air conditioning because of the way that like, I don't know, the airflow was moving. It was so interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was just the most immense structure I've ever been in my life. It was
Me too, honestly. Yeah.
it was really incredible.
Beautiful.
And it's very breathtaking. We walked through with like relative ease. Everyone who kind of
So many cats there.
worked there or like informally worked there just reminded us that Obama went.
Obama visited there, yeah.
Obama
Obama gave like a speech about like the Muslim world and stuff that was an okay speech at the time, but it didn't really,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't have time to talk about Obama, but yeah, they were proud that Obama had been there, so that was cool.
Yeah. And then one guy who I guess works there, he did like a
Adhan or call to prayer.
yeah, he did an adhan and like a little recitation for us in one of the like main prayer rooms to show us the acoustics of the place. So
Yeah.
he's like, there's no microphone, but he did it, and his sound just like filled the room.
Yeah, it was kind of nice because there's only like a few of us there. I feel like I saw like 2 other groups besides us, and they were
Yeah.
pretty small groups, so it was cool to kind of feel that life in it.
Yeah.
It was also just an interesting kind of cultural thing because, like, we don't have the right instincts always. Like, most people want to tip. And so we tipped him because we
Yeah.
thought he wanted a tip, but he was, like, pretty surprised. I don't think he was offended, but
I
it was
don't think
pretty
he was
clear that he
offended.
was, like, not doing it for a tip. Like, it's just
Yeah,
something he
yeah,
does for
yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see, like, what your instincts are. And, like, it's hard to anticipate when you're in a different environment. Yeah.
Right. Because he was
Um,
kind of, usually we were like, oh, no, it's fine. Because we thought he was going to want
Yeah,
to tip. And we were
yeah.
just like, it's okay. We can do without whatever you're about to show us. But he was
Right.
like very insistent. And so
Yeah.
we ended up going. And I'm glad we did because it was like a really
It was
beautiful
really cool.
experience.
Yeah. And he seemed, like, pretty amused that we tipped him. So we were like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
No harm done. But I guess that wasn't what he was looking for.
And then we walked to
Across
Masjid
the way.
al-Rifai,
Yeah.
where we saw some Persian monarchists who looked like, again, I mean, it's a tourist spot, but
Yeah.
the first thing that I think we noticed is like this, someone's dressed more like for a club than they
Yeah,
are for a
yeah.
masjid.
But, whatever.
Yeah. And then we walk into this room and people unfurling the, like, what is it called? Pahlavi flag? Like the Persian
and it
monarchist
was like
flag
a
with
picture
Reza
of like the last
Pahlavi.
Shah,
Yeah.
who like was backed by the CIA and then was disposed by the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which ushered in like the current theocracy of Iran.
And I don't think either of us knew that when he went into exile, he
No, we didn't
was
know.
exiled into Cairo and then died in Cairo.
And he was buried. We found out.
Yeah, and he was
that
buried
mosque,
there.
Yeah. So I mean, we looked it up after because it was clear there was some kind of connection. By the time we didn't know what it was, and it just seemed very random. And
Yeah,
strange.
so it was just like all we saw was just a bunch of Persians who were probably also like pro-Israeli Persians.
Yeah, I know that, but there's a lot of overlap between.
Pretty
Yeah.
sure. I would say with 92% confidence. But they were just unfurling the flag and taking pictures next to his, what I presume to be his tomb.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of, I mean, a lot of Iranians, obviously are not happy with the current very repressive, awful regime, but they also were not happy either with the Shah. So
yeah.
monarchist nostalgists are a special little branch, is our
Yeah.
limited understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was really special. We tried after that to go to the Citadel.
We got there late.
Yeah, so we got to the Salahuddin Citadel at like 4 p.m. and it was already closed. And that was probably our most if we were on like a reality TV show, would have been like our test moment because we ran out of water. And it was like really hot.
Well, before that, yeah, we actually walked around the gardens of Al
Oh, I
Azhar.
forgot that. Yeah, so we went to, there was like a park called Al Azhar Park because it's just like in the neighborhood.
Yep.
It was cool to see and like walk around. Something that's really annoying
It was all right.
and kind of sad here is that you have to like pay for parks, which is kind of messed up. So like it's only accessible to people who can like pay. It's not a lot, but still there aren't really like that I have seen like a lot of publicly accessible green spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think actually I've seen a single one. Now that I'm thinking about it, which is kind of unfortunate.
Like publicly. Yeah, I'm not sure, but
Yeah. But it was like on a little like there were like little mountains in it, not mountains but like little hills. So you could see the city, and it was just kind of cool seeing like kids play, and it's nice observing different forms of like everyday life.
Yeah, it was cute. But that to say that we were outside
We'd already
for
been
quite a
outside for a
bit,
while.
walking around in the heat.
And I was
And
like
we-
trying to like cover up a little bit more because it's a
Same.
more conservative section of the city, so we were also
Yeah.
like a little bit more hot than we normally would have been.
Yeah, and so then we get to the Citadel of Salahuddin, and then we get there too late. We try to order an Uber. It takes forever because it's kind of like a rush hour traffic. And we end up waiting for almost an hour just outside in the sun. And that's when I had the conversation with the police officer
Yeah,
who was
that
like,
was
"You're,
hard.
yeah."
And we were like covered in like a fine layer of like dust because it was like the old city and it's like super dusty. Just, like,
Yeah, and then you know
like, parched. Yeah.
it's a problem because you're sweating all day, and you're like, okay, like, yeah, I'm sweaty. But then it got to the point where we were just standing there, and I was like, I'm not sweating anymore.
You didn't have enough like hydration.
Like I just don't have any more moisture in my body.
Yeah.
And that was
It was
was
honestly,
fine.
if that's the worst thing that happened to us, it was really not too bad. But it was like, it wasn't like super fun.
we were definitely happy to get back to the hotel.
Yeah, and rehydrate.
And then I think we went to the courtyard and smoked hookah.
Where did we do for dinner that night? Oh, we probably went to Zuba. We went to Zuba like a million times. Zuba is like a chain.
We probably did go to Zuba.
Zuba is like the guy like knew us by the end. It's like
Yeah.
a local chain here, but it's really quite good. It's actually
It
in
was
Cairo,
cute actually. The guy from Zuba so he remembered us after the first time we went.
and we went probably like no joke like 5 times for various meals.
And every time he would ask, he's like, "How's the trip going so far?"
yeah, we'd
ask
like
what we've done.
would, like update him with what we've done so far.
Yeah.
It's like a fast casual chain, but very good, honestly. Like really excellent. Like
It's solid.
Tamia falafel, like really tasty little
You can-
like Egyptian basics.
Go in New York if you want.
Yeah, it's in Bahrain, New York, Saudi, and
Costs
Cairo.
like 10 times as much.
I know, it's crazy. I was looking it up online because it's just funny to see the contrast. We kept on getting like these 2 sandwiches, and I think it was like what, like $4 for like 2 sandwiches and 2 drinks
No, not even that. It's like
and
$3.
fries, like $3 maybe. And then like in New York, the same meal was gonna be, I think just for one sandwich it was 17, so it probably would have been like I don't know, $40 for all
Yeah.
that. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good option. It's also like, it's so funny. I definitely think we realize like how American we are with like what we're used to in terms of like quick pace. And so like at most restaurants and cafes, like things take longer than we're used to, which of course like we adjust and we don't mind, but it is like I noticed myself being like very aware of the time because it's just like different than what we're used to. And Zuba was one place that was like fast, so we ended up going there a lot for that reason too.
Yes. Yeah. The Egyptian waiters are on another level. Like they
A lot of them have been really nice.
no, they've been super nice to
Yeah.
us, but like if you just kind of watch them not at Zuba. Zuba, like they
Is
just
an
kind of
exception,
have a bit more
yeah.
of an efficient operation, but like everywhere else we've gone, waiters are just constantly arguing with one another, yelling at one another. Like a lot of the cafes we went to, that was the case.
I feel like, I don't know, based on like my travel, I think that like most places, the yelling is one thing, but it is interesting, like the kind of like service expectations and the quickness, like the US is the exception. Like almost everywhere else I've traveled in the world is like way more laid back and slower, and you have to like, I have to consciously try and slow myself down.
Well, laid back and slower is one thing, but seeing the waiters just yell at each
Yeah,
other
that's-
and get
that's your
frustrated
own
with each
thing.
other
Yeah,
is a
that's fair.
different. Yeah.
But like even like, I mean, yeah, like lots of different places in the world with very different cultures, like even like Sweden where the waiters are actually incredibly rude, but the service
Yeah.
is so slow.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because so much of Sweden is like so efficient, but it's just like service in the US is very quick.
Yeah.
People expect to like be in and out fast. They expect efficiency,
Yeah.
and it's kind of an exception when you don't get that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Which, you know, I didn't mind the waiting and stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. I'm just interested to notice like your own like programming.
Yeah, even in the hotel, like you would see the staff just arguing with each other. Like this morning, one guy was cleaning, he was mopping a certain area, and then one of the ladies who was actually waiting on us
Yeah.
went up and just like started yelling at him. And she's like, "Why are you mopping here? You know,
Uh-huh.
people are gonna like slip here. Like there are a lot of people coming." And then another guy came, and they were like, kind of just were yelling at him for mopping this area at that moment,
Aw.
and you just see a lot of stuff like that. It's kind of hilarious, but yeah. So we went to Zuba, then we went back to the hotel and
We had
just
shisha,
chilled.
which was nice.
Yeah, I smoke hookah like once every like 5 years,
Cutie.
but because we had a nice courtyard,
And it was just like
To
everyone was
enjoy.
doing it. It was just fun.
it was a fun vibe.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
We went twice.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
nice. It's not something we do regularly, so I don't feel bad about it. But it is something obviously you got to be careful with because it's a lot of tobacco.
It's so much.
But it feels nice. I love hookah and cigars, but I don't do it often. Yeah, I think that was it. And then Friday,
Look at these levels. You gotta project. You gotta use teacher voice.
we kind of hung out at the hotel for a bit, and then we went and saw your family,
Yep.
which we won't get into too much detail about, just kind of for privacy, but it was really nice. It was super interesting, again, just like seeing different ways of life, I think is so cool when you travel, and it was interesting. They live in a suburb, which is an hour away from like where we were.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of new development around like the edges of Cairo in all directions, it seems.
So much new development.
And this seemed like kind of like a newly middle class kind of area, which was interesting. And so there's a lot of kind of like malls and kind of like strip malls, but a lot of it is like still being built. So it's interesting. So like go to a mall and there'll be all these stores and stuff, and then like construction's happening right next door. But yeah, it was cool. We got to see your grandma, who was really cute and little. And she was really happy to see you. She was excited that you still spoke Arabic. She was
Yeah.
surprised, I think.
Yeah.
We saw your uncle and your aunt, who gave us a lot of hospitality, which we appreciated. And yeah, your cousins, who were really cute. They're young. They're like under 10, so that was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hung out there for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. So it was good seeing my grandma. She's 84 now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
And it had been, you hadn't seen your grandma, because your grandma lived with you for a little bit in North Carolina, right, with your family.
yeah.
And you hadn't seen her since like what? Like you were like, how old were you guys?
I don't know. No.
Middle
Must
school
have-
or high school?
I think definitely middle school.
Yeah.
If not elementary school.
Yeah, so like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your uncle, I think, just a few years after that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So your uncle lived in the U.S. for a bit, we should mention. So you like knew him as a kid in North Carolina, and then he moved back to Egypt.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then we came back to Cairo, and we went on a little boat ride.
Mm-hmm.
So a popular thing to do here is go on felucca rides. A felucca is like generally a bit of a bigger boat. We went on like a tiny little motorboat. But it was super fun. I love boats. I love water. And ours was like kind of like a little on the dinkier side, but it was still super cute. And the guy like played music. It was just the two of us. And half of the fun of being on the Nile was like seeing what people were doing in other boats. It was just like a fun vibe. There was like a panda on
There was
one randomly that was like dancing.
Not an actual panda. There
Not
was
an
like
actual panda, like someone in a panda suit, like
yeah.
a massive panda suit.
Yeah.
There was like people like smoking hookah. There's just great nightlife vibes, honestly, all across the city. There were people playing drums and just like a lot of music. Sometimes you go through and there's like 3 boats next to you and they're all playing different music, but it kind of feels like fun and joyous, like different, sounds. And
yeah.
it's also a beautiful view of the city at night. Next time we do it, I definitely want to go at sunset, but it was nice seeing it then. Oh, I forgot to mention what we did before that, is we went to our favorite restaurant. Or no, was that day or another day?
I don't remember, but we can
Oh, you know
kinda...
what? I think actually we did the Fluka ride another day, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, we did go to an incredible restaurant
So good.
called Matam Abu Al-Sid.
Yeah, that was in Zamanek.
So good.
Very good.
I mean, it's just Egyptian food, but it was like done so nice.
I have to say, so before this trip, I did not think I was a huge fan of Egyptian food because a lot of it is like not very...
In the US,
my impression
it's not,
was,
yeah.
which is, obviously different in the US, but my impression was that a lot of it is like not very strong flavors, and I tend to like very exaggerated flavors, like very spicy or very sour or whatever it is. But I still don't know if it's like my favorite cuisine, but we have had a lot of excellent food on this trip. It definitely changed my perspective. And like I also realized there were a lot of dishes I hadn't tried before and things I didn't realize were standard.
I'm gonna go a little bit out of order here, but yeah, 2 really standout incredible meals was Abu Al-Sid in Zamalek, which we got... What
Mixed
did we get?
grill.
We got like some grilled stuff.
But it was
and
like different
then-
types of meats and different parts of animals that normally we wouldn't even like, that I thought was still like amazing. Like made different sausages. And we
Yeah.
got that with rice and just like really simple food, honestly, but very good quality.
It was
Very
so good.
good.
And this place has like a not great rating on Google.
Ahmed's big into ratings, so he was scandalized.
I thought it was a little unjust.
He wrote a review, which is good.
Yeah. My only review on Google. Like I don't actually review ever.
This is your only review ever? That's
Yeah.
cute.
But it was incredible.
Also
It's
beautifully decorated, like really
Awesome.
lovely lighting.
old school, like people just smoking inside too.
Oh, people smoke everywhere here.
Everywhere.
It's a lot. We actually had to change to hotel rooms because our first hotel room reeked of cigarettes.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind. I'm not gonna lie. I love the smell of smoke, but it's not great, obviously, public health wise.
Yeah. I didn't love it.
I
in
also
the
just
hotel
think
room.
it looks so romantic.
I don't mind it in
looks
restaurants
so
or whatever,
good.
but I just don't like the hotel room smelling like it.
I mean, that's totally reasonable. Yeah.
Sorry, we're gonna move the laptop apparently. All right, someone.
I'm leaning back.
You ready?
It's 11 p.m.
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up. But and then the other one was Khufu at the pyramids,
Yeah.
which was
Amazing.
So
Also, both
this-
of these were friend recommendations, so
Yeah.
thank you, friends.
So Khufu is like a little bit different than Abu Sid. It's still Egyptian food, but it's kind of deconstructed and then
yeah,
like
twists on things.
done in fine dining sort of way. Something like we had a driver for that day, and we tried to get him like a plate of like some koshari or whatever.
It's like a very like basic meal. That's
Yeah,
like, very,
koshari-
like, street food.
But then we were like, can we order koshari for our driver to go? And then they were like, the guy was like, yeah, sure, but it's like the koshari doesn't have like. It doesn't have chickpeas. It doesn't have rice. It actually doesn't even have like the noodles.
Like all the things kosher usually has.
And he's like, it doesn't have the sauce. And you're just like, okay.
But I'm sure it was good because our breakfast was amazing.
But yeah, what we had
Yeah.
other, it was so.
Yeah. So two
good.
very good meals. Oh, other good meals.
I didn't
shout
want to
out?
because the view was awesome. I was like, oh, this is just a place that they built that has a good view
No,
of
it
the
was
pyramids.
excellent, yeah.
But the food was incredible. We should probably talk about the pyramids a little bit too.
Well, before we get into that, while we're on the subject of food, my other favorite food thing. So my favorite food things have been the 2 that you mentioned, Abu Said, Khufu, those 2 restaurants. We went to a bakery and we got basbousa, which is like, is it semolina?
Mm-hmm.
Like soaked in honey, and I never had it before, and I love it. It's so good. I never have really liked baba ganoush. Not baba ganoush, lol. Baklava. I never really liked baklava, which I think of as like, typical like Middle Eastern sweet. I mean, I guess not in Egypt, but like that's whenever you go to like Iftar or something, it's often baklava. And I like this. It's like the honey, but like I just like the texture so much better. So that was awesome. That I really liked that. It was
Yeah,
cool discovering
basbousa is
that I
another
liked
thing that is a lot better here than it is
Yeah.
when you buy it from like a place in
But
the U.S.
I haven't liked the mamul here. I guess we only had it from that one bakery. I like it in Pittsburgh.
I
so.
thought the mamul was good. I think the one that we get at the Syrian cafe in Pittsburgh is It's nice in a different way, but the mamul there was like very
Classic Egyptian.
like classic.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but that's fair. Yeah.
Um,
And then other meal, yeah, we already mentioned the kosher,
Yeah.
which is great. Okay,
So-
but fast forward to the pyramids.
so the pyramids. What did you think?
I think
feel
the
anything?
thing that I have felt most moved by was the Mas Madrasa of Sultan Hassan.
Same.
The pyramids were cool, but a couple of things. One, and we knew this going in, so it wasn't actually that stressful. It's really good to have good expectations, to have low expectations, but you get kind of shaken down on your way in. There was like the ticket haggling. It's the only day that we've hired a driver. We hired a driver for the day. Would totally recommend that because it's really helpful because you don't want to just get like left there by an Uber. He like waited for us and then we had him for the day, which was lovely. And
Yeah.
he did some of, not the negotiating, but some of the kind of like moving through with us and kind of helped us out. But same deal. Once you get past the ticket, guys, yeah, people are asking for you to like get on a camel and stuff, but it's not actually that stressful. If you walk away a few steps, it's totally fine. There was no like, this is the main thing people think about with Egypt, right? Obviously, our pyramids. No plaques, no written information, no like scaffolding. So I just kind of, I mean, it was still cool. On the one hand, you could get alarmingly close to them. Like they also were not like really like protected.
What do you mean? What do you mean scaffolding?
Like in terms of your educational experience, there was no kind of like educational infrastructure to kind of like help you process this information. I think if we did it again, I'd want to hire a guide.
Yeah, it's Wikipedia.
I know, but like usually when you see like the main thing that a place is known for that's a historical thing, there's like information to read about it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I
Like,
mean,
even a
it's-
brochure.
It's run very differently than a way like a national monument in the U.S.
Yeah.
or anywhere else would be run. Yeah.
But it is, I mean, it was really still cool. I think also this sounds dumb, but like it's hard to, even when you're up close to them, it's kind of hard to gauge how big they are. Like they are so large
Yeah.
that it's just kind of hard to get. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, when you're kind of just like close to them, you can't get them in full view.
Yeah, you almost can tell more when you like at the restaurant
we were
when
at
you
the
had
restaurant,
a view.
yeah.
You know what I mean? When we were a little further away.
Yeah.
But it was cool. I mean, I don't know what else. We didn't like,
go inside.
No, which I don't want to. I'm highly claustrophobic, and apparently it's like a very narrow and like yeah, I'm not interested in that personally.
But yeah, I feel the same way. I didn't like. I don't know. Is that bad? I wasn't in awe.
I think different people are moved by different things. Like I know so many people who are like really moved by Roman runes, and I totally get it. Like I get it intellectually, but I'm not personally moved by Roman runes. I'm just like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't feel connected to that. I don't know.
Should we
So-
tear down the pyramids?
No, I don't think so.
Because they're kind of like big Confederate statues.
Laughing at this whole thing. I mean, you're not wrong.
That's my troll take on the pyramids. Is
That's
that
a troll take.
is that if we're against Confederate
I mean,
statues,
look,
we should be against the
But
pyramids.
look, even the mosque, I'm sure, was built with like not well compensated labor, if not slaves. Like, you know, I mean, like,
But no, it's not. But it's not a monument to the slave holder.
I mean, the pyramids aren't either.
Yes, they are.
The
They're
pyramids are like where dead people were buried. It's not a
dead
monument.
people or dead royalty who owned slaves.
You could totally talk about the Mas Madrasa of Sultan Hassan in the same way if you wanted to.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you could, because the guy built it to be his legacy, to like show like his strength and power.
I don't know.
And I'm sure a lot of people in his empire, if not the vast majority, were treated like shit.
Then-
That's true of most historical time periods and places.
Then maybe get rid of that too. I don't know.
Nah, that
I'm
place is
just
beautiful. But anyway.
kidding. Okay. No,
No, they're cool. I feel like it's okay. This is like a dumb comparison,
it's
but like
worth seeing, but we kind of just
Yeah.
speed walked it.
you can't like go to Paris and not see the Eiffel Tower. You can't go to New
I
York
also
City
didn't
and not
really-
see Times Square. That's obnoxious. You got to see the thing it's known for,
Yeah.
but it might not be the thing that moves you most.
Yeah, I also didn't really give a shit about the Eiffel Tower. Like I went to go see it, but I was like, oh, this is fine, you know. It's
I think
nice.
I felt more moved by the Eiffel Tower. Is that bad?
Yeah, that's kind of.
I liked being on it, being near it. I was like, all right.
Eh.
I really liked walking up it. It was pretty cool.
This was better than the Eiffel Tower. I will say.
It was. I will say, Eiffel Tower more stressful in terms of people trying to sell you shit. Very,
Yeah.
very, very stressful.
But anyway, yeah. I thought. I'm glad we went to go see it, and yes, I agree. I think a lot of times when people tell you when you go visit a place and you're like, oh, I want to do this touristy thing, people are like, don't do it. It's not worth it, or
Nah.
whatever. I
should
disagree.
still do it,
You should
yeah.
do it, but you should just have the right expectations, and I think.
Yeah. Let it
We
speak
did.
to you however it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, we found out that we were actually here. We overlapped with Chet Hanks quite a bit, and we just could not link and build this this trip. So I'm hoping if he's listening that next time, just give us a heads up and we'll.
I care about Chet Hanks as much as I care about the pyramids.
But you see the Chet Hanks, they posted like this video of him at the pyramids wearing like a Khaliji outfit, and then the caption was like Allahu Akbar, and then there's like another reel of him like making sujood toward the pyramid, which is kind of hilarious.
Then he had to like clarify that he was Christian. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, hold on. I screenshotted.
Oh my God, we don't have to read this.
I wanted to screenshot this. Hold on.
Hi.
Oh no, I'm running out of battery here. Here's a picture of the fish we ate earlier today.
That was so good.
Oh, I took a picture of this lamp I wanted to go get, but we're not in Cairo anymore. Isn't that sad?
That is sad.
He said, I did not convert to Islam. I am a Christian and I believe in Jesus. But traveling to the Muslim world has moved me. Seeing how
Wow.
God-fearing people are here, how it is normal to keep God at the front of your mind, to have him in your thoughts, your spirit, your day-to-day life. I think the West could learn much from this. Not to mention the fact that Muslims recognize Christ as a prophet. I hope Christians can learn to show Islam the same
What
respect.
would that mean?
Huh?
Oh, I don't get it. What would they recognize in turn?
No, he's saying that I hope Christians can learn to show
Yeah, but
Islam
that
the
doesn't really make sense because we don't recognize
They gotta
Jesus.
recognize Muhammad as the prophet.
We don't recognize Jesus as a prophet out of a sign of respect for Christians. That's just like our faith.
It's a nice sentiment. Just let him have
Okay,
it.
fine. You're really
I have deep
riding
respect
this
for my
guy.
Muslim brothers and sisters. We are all brothers and sisters under God. Alhamdulillah.
Wow.
It's so demoralizing leaving a country where everybody acknowledges and respects God to come back to the West and immediately
Oh my
be
God, still
reminded
going.
that in our current society it has become acceptable to openly mock and denigrate the reverence of what is of God and what is holy. Do you think he was referring to that French ceremony for the Olympics where they did the last dinner sort of thing?
No, I don't know.
You don't think he's referring to? People were mad about
I know,
that.
it's just like, who cares? But
Big mad about that.
Yeah. I saw
Um,
some funny Twitter things where people were like, "Oh, like what would happen if someone mocked like Muslims in this way, and someone else was like the French mock Muslims all the time."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
are you talking about?
Yeah. So.
Anyway, last thoughts on the pyramids. Ahmed was sad he didn't get to meet
Chet Hanks. Dude, that would have been sick.
It was also kind of funny. I mean, this is like not. I don't mean this like in a derisive way. It's just kind of interesting, like how people treat different famous things. A lot of people were like kind of dressed up for photos. So people wearing like really elaborate dresses, and then also people who were wearing kind of like had their like, wearing like turban style kind of clothing and stuff, which is like fun, including some Egyptians. So like I guess that's fine.
Some kind of Orientalist
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
desert wear sort
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
It was cute. Do what you do out there.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Um,
And then we got a little sidetracked, but we ended up eventually at the Grand Egyptian Museum, which is like a new state project
Very
to kind of
grand.
like show the grandeur of Sisi's regime, of the current administration's regime. I wouldn't recommend it if you were on a short time period, but I don't mind that we went because it's just kind of interesting to see like how the state represents itself. It's honestly a glorified shopping mall. Like the building is
It is.
incredible, it's beautiful. But again,
well, the exhibits aren't open, so
So,
right now it is
yeah.
more mall than it is museum. But at some point,
they're still going
I
to
think
open up
it'll.
things, but the things that are currently there, maybe it's just the educator in me, but there's like no framing. There's no like this exhibit is about X. It just is very
There
much
is.
like there's like little placards, but there's nothing actually explaining how these objects.
But we didn't go to an exhibit.
But
That's the thing.
the one thing that was there.
But that wasn't an exhibit. That's just a grand hall that takes
But
you
there
to.
were artifacts, so they should be given more context.
Well, I know, but that's what I was trying to say is that they are given context with the plaques, not necessarily that that's not an exhibit where like you're seeing
No, I
this is
understand.
from the 3000 BC
I
era
understand,
or whatever,
but
you know
I
what I'm
still
saying?
think
Like
it was well done, even that little bit of it.
fine. But yes, right now it is more shopping mall than it is museum
The
because
gift shop was
things are
fun.
open.
We got a bunch of gifts for people.
I
so
will
that was
say
cool.
the gift shop is better than the gift shops of like museums in the US because everything there, pretty much everything there was like handicraft goods from Egypt,
Yeah,
and
which is
they
awesome.
weren't things that were
Yeah.
just like trinkets that were made to sell. Some of them are, But like a lot of the clothes, the ceramics, a lot of stuff like that is actually like very high
But if
quality.
you go to like a high-end museum, or if you go to like the Metropolitan Museum, there's some beautiful objects there too. You're right that they're not all like.
I've
This was
been to
more
the
like
Met.
handicraft. There's some beautiful items there.
Made.
There's like
In-
handcrafted jewelry and stuff.
Oh,
You're right. This was more special for sure.
I don't know.
Like all of it was
this
made
is
in
better
Egypt.
than the Met.
The gift shop.
Everything about it. Everything.
Yes, the macaroon shop and the other Zuba fast
There was
food
there
casual
was a
were to die
Zupa there.
for.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
And there's a Mandarin opening there.
But there
too.
is something kind of like Mandarin's baker that we liked. I mean whatever. Look, it's easy to throw stones. Obviously, we also come from a really fucked up country, so I'm not trying to like whatever. But like there is something very depressing about like there's such intense poverty here, and such intense like economic stratification, and then like this huge monument to civilization, which is obviously making a very like unilateral argument of like ancient Egypt equals begot us, which is like not really a thing. Like the contemporary society of Egypt is not like really meaningfully connected to ancient Egypt.
Mhm.
It's just awkward. Like, you know what I mean? It's a huge building. It's inaccessible to most people in the old city, to most poor people. I mean, that's true of museums in the US too, I guess, but
Uh-huh.
it's a weird vibe. It's a beautiful building though. At least the building was cool. At least they made it look interesting.
It's got some cool architectural moments.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
And you can see the pyramids from parts of it, so that's kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a good view. All right, we've been going for an hour and 10.
Really?
Yeah, should we wrap up with Khan Khalili? We're going out of order, but we did
We
try
only have one day left, so it's perfect.
we did try
Cairo.
pigeon.
Oh, another excellent restaurant that we went to. I'm saying these like people are gonna go. I know we're not a travel
Yeah.
show or anything, but this was another recommendation from a different friend. We actually know a lot of people who are Egyptian or who have been to Cairo, so that really worked out very nicely.
Yeah.
This was so sweet. I hadn't even reached out to her. She just kind of saw that we were here and like took it upon herself to like give us recommendations, and I also texted her other questions that I had. But she recommended a place called Farahat Grill. Was that what it was called, right?
Yeah, it's in
Excellent.
Azhar.
Very, very good.
Right next to Khan Khalili.
Yeah, excellent. And also it was really cool to have like a more like street eats, like cheap meal that was like amazing. I thought it was
Yeah.
one of my favorite meals. I got stuffed pigeon,
We got pigeon and
which
we got
I really liked a lot. I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was
it
excellent.
was good. It was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Um,
I've only had pigeon like in a pastry in Morocco. I've never had just a pigeon and like straight up, and I liked it a lot.
We think it included what we believe to be the pigeon's testicles,
I didn't eat that.
which we did not
I was
eat.
not feeling that brave. They had molokhia, which I've had before and I haven't liked. It's the first time I've liked it because I think they included more garlic, again, more flavor.
The
'cause
molokhia was good.
generally, I find molokhia, sorry Egyptians, but just to be kind of like water and spinach, which is not that appetizing. But this was actually like had flavor.
It's mallow. It's
Had
mallow
flavor,
leaves.
which was nice.
Yeah,
What's a mallow leaf?
it's a plant.
Oh, okay.
There's a more pejorative name for it, but we won't say that here.
Oh, tell me after. Yeah, and really good grilled chicken. It was just like very tasty.
Yeah.
And then we walked around Khan al-Khalili. Okay. So I think actually from what I've been reading later, there are some actual stores. Like if we wanted to get like a beautiful, well-made lamp, that is actually a good place to go. So there
Yeah.
are some legit stores that have handicraft, but most of it is just touristy, which doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's bad to walk around. And like, I think that things are not such a binary between like authentic and touristy. Like they exist together, you know, like and like in close proximity to one another.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm gonna do a little bit of comparison now. Like having visited the oldest like walled city in the world, like oldest kind of preserved Medina in the world, and like largest in Fez.
Oh, okay.
This
All
just
right, hold
this
on.
just
This is
like was
gonna-
kind of
Making noise in the microphone.
oh sorry, this was just like so small and like kind of wimpy, and like it felt like kind of
Small? What are you talking? Okay. First of all, we did not walk through all of Khan Khalili.
no, but looking at it on a map, even it's not that big actually.
Okay.
You should walk through it, but it's not like it kind of feels a little bit like
What you want to be measuring it by is total square footage or mileage.
do you want me to look it up while you give your impressions?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It was cool to see. You can't not see it, but I didn't think it was that impressive personally.
Yeah, it was fine. Again, it's just like mostly trinkets, but yes, there were some like really gorgeous shops that had like a lot of cool lighting and stuff. But we didn't get anything there. We tried to negotiate for like a little teapot and some other stuff, but the guy just wasn't coming down on the price. So
We were also kind
We
of
left.
tired at that point, yeah.
yeah,
It was like late. Oh, I forgot to say, and it's not important to go into the details, but we had walked for like 40 minutes. We like went to the train station to get a ticket to Alexandria because we wanted to get it a few days before we were going. And then we ended up walking from the train station all the way to Khan al-Khalili, which is a 40-minute walk. It was actually super interesting because we walked through a lot of like little resale markets, and like I would say the first 10 to 15 minutes of the walk I was like really fascinated. There was a lot of like electronics that were being sold, like a lot of really cool innovative upcycling, but it was just like so chaotic and like so many people and like such a dense market and like so many noises and sounds, and like it was pretty overwhelming, honestly, as a sensory experience. I was pretty exhausted by the end. You looked like dead, poor thing.
Yeah.
I think you're like a little more sensitive sensory wise than I am. You looked really tired, but I was pretty shot too. It was exhausting, but I'm glad we had that experience. It was really interesting to see all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's another good example of like, I don't want to put too rosy a picture on it, but I feel like people tend to demonize like poor sections of all cities. And like, it was absolutely fine. Like, not a single person bothered us or harassed us or followed us. Like, it's really good to see like different ways that people live, and like not in like a condescending way, but like out of a genuine interest way. And
even
I
a
feel
lot
like,
of Egyptians here, like a lot of our drivers and some other people were telling us, oh, don't go there, it's not a good place.
There's a lot of like classism and like assumptions, and like literally only one person the whole time said something, and like it was like I didn't feel I mean, the only thing that made me feel very unsafe was all the times I had to cross the street, which was very stressful. And at one point we ended up under like we were like walking under like an underpass. There was like no sidewalk, and like I was really very stressed. But yeah, again, the traffic is a continuing theme, but in terms of individual people, it felt absolutely fine. I mean, it was exhausting, but it wasn't like scary.
Yeah. It was fine.
There was a mosque we didn't go to that if we come back I'd like to go to, where legend has it, depending on your perspective, that Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet, who was an important figure for Shias, like his head was taken and is buried in that mosque. It's a Sunni mosque, which is interesting. I mean, obviously Egypt is Sunni, but yeah, like people come there for that reason partially. And that had an interesting vibe. We were outside of it, so it's right by Khan al-Khalili, so this is kind of pretty late at night, like, I don't know, 9 p.m., 9:30 that we're walking around.
Yeah.
Super sad, though, because I think maybe the mosque feeds people, which is great, I'm guessing, because there were so many, like, kids and moms there who I think are homeless, I'm assuming, who were begging, but it was like kind of like overwhelming and sad to see just ridiculous like quantities of people, like just such huge numbers of people. I don't know, like it's not good to be able to like tune people out, but I think I often can, like having grown up in a big city, but especially seeing kids is like pretty hard.
Lots of child labor here. Yeah.
I will say not nearly as bad as Pakistan, but yeah, it's also not good.
And then a lot of children who are either with or without their mothers on the street, and it's incredibly hard to see and hard to ignore. I mean, even if you should, like, if you a lot of people imagine themselves are like, if I was ever really rich, I would just like go out and hand out money, and it wouldn't be like you can actually do that here, and it doesn't.
You do have to be careful for your safety. I think
for sure you have to do it in a way that is like you maintain your safety.
I gave Ahmed a budget.
And then also like not just maintain your safety, but also like the safety of other people. Like you don't want to like create some sort of like,
exactly, like
But anyway, like you should give as much as you're able, like when you're here. But even then, it's like nothing.
Yeah, you obviously can't.
You know what I'm
saying? Too
saying?
much poverty.
You're not gonna fix a situation that is like needs to be fixed on like, a
and
macro
that you
level.
are ultimately a visitor to.
For sure. But yeah, it's a very visceral, like hard thing to see.
And I think that was particularly hard because it was just like, at least for me, like that's the only thing that's really kind of stuck with me a little bit, because I mean it's awful, but we also have like a ton of homelessness in Pittsburgh, and it's unfortunate, but it does become kind of normalized, and you see it every day, which is awful. It shouldn't be normalized to see human beings who are, don't have housing.
Well, in Pittsburgh and other cities in the U.S., the governments try to find ways to hide them.
Right.
There are more services, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely there are. It's obviously still an issue, but what I was gonna say is like I feel like, I had a hard time. That was the only thing that I found like a bit like jarring.
Yeah.
Was that number of kids? Yeah.
The immense poverty. Like it's. a lot
But
needs to change.
If you stayed here, it would become more normalized. It's the awful thing, and anywhere you are, I think something like that becomes normalized because you just see it enough that you're kind of like, oh, you know,
I don't know.
it shouldn't be, but I mean, I can think of a lot of like crappy things even at home that kind of become normalized.
Maybe, yeah. But that's.
I feel bad for ending on a bummer moment. Let me think of one other thing
Well,
to talk about.
Do you think we'll be able to get home? It seems like the war is actually popping off in a way that.
I don't. I mean, not here.
Yeah.
Things are getting weird with Lebanon.
Yep.
I was gonna say anything else. Yeah, I mean, but overall, Cairo, I would say I liked the city. I didn't really have strong expectations, but I feel like just because we like for some reason, a lot of people were like, kind of give us warnings, which I guess is a good thing in that we had low expectations. I really liked it. I would totally come back.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things. It's such a big city, you can't do it all. I think we did a great job and we saw a lot, but there's a lot I would come back and see that we didn't get to.
Yep.
I would even like if we ever have a pocket of time, I don't know when this would happen and maybe it's a bit of a pipe dream, but I would spend a few months here. I think that'd be really cool. Like I could try and actually learn some Arabic and you would get to improve your Arabic and it could be interesting. Yeah, I like it a lot.
It could be fun. So yeah, we just got to Alexandria today. I ended up sleeping for like 4 or 5 hours because I don't know what I ate, but it's something messed me up. It might have been my iced coffee. We're not supposed to really have ice here.
That's this man's vice here.
But I ended
He's
up
been
having
gambling.
I ended up having an iced coffee.
Yeah, we've been trying pretty carefully not to like have anything. We've only been drinking bottled water and not to have anything that could have been washed with tap water.
I don't think it was iced coffee though. It might have been
We've had all the same food and I feel okay, so I don't really know.
we haven't had all the same food.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you've had iced coffees. That's the only thing I can think of
I
that's been
have
different.
had iced coffee.
Yeah.
So maybe it was the iced coffee. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, so I was kind of like a little tired all day.
It was actually kind of funny and cute because I feel like Ahmed got back to like he was actually technically born in Cairo, not Cairo Hospital, but he grew up in Alexandria. That's where his family is from. He kind of like came back to like your birthplace and then you just like kind of took you out. You like fell asleep. You were fine all of Cairo and you got here, you're just like passed out.
Yeah. But when I woke up, no, not when I woke up.
Before you went to sleep, yeah.
Yeah, before I went to sleep, we went to a nearby fish restaurant, and it was incredible.
Oh my god!
Probably
it was
the best,
literally
the best fish I've ever
amazing.
had. Best
And
fish.
it was so funny because like I was a little skeptical because it wasn't a recommendation, and we've been pretty much not exclusively, but like mostly sticking to friends' recommendations.
Yeah.
And then I think we just got there at a weird time because actually a half an hour in, it really started to like people started to come in, but there was no one there when we got there, and it just like.
Did you think I'd picked a bad restaurant?
Yeah, I was worried. I mean, not because I don't trust you, because like you never know, you know.
Yeah.
And like when you first come in, they have all this like raw fish sitting on ice, and you just like literally point to the fish that you want.
Yeah.
And it just like was an unfamiliar experience, but it was
and
amazing.
then they ask you, you kind of pick out what you want, and then they ask you like, how do you want it done?
I couldn't really follow. I can follow some stuff, but I didn't follow what you were saying. Yeah.
They don't speak English there. That was something in the reviews, is that there's like it's hard to figure it out if you don't.
Because you don't speak it. Yeah.
But it was again the best fish
Absolutely
I've ever had.
Excellent. Yeah, I was blown away. So good. And just like so creative and interesting. Like even the crab, I'd never had crab served that way before. It was like in the shell with like almost like a hollandaise sauce. I mean, that wasn't what it actually was, but kind of tasted like that. Very good.
Yeah, that blackened fish was incredible.
I liked both of them.
Yeah.
The kind of red sauce one was also very good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you got both. And it's really nice because it comes with little sides, like, which is cute because your parents have served us this and now I kind of got it, but it's cool to see that it's like, this is a common thing here with like a side of like tahina sauce that has tahini in it. And then like, we got fries and rice, like all the works. And it was very good.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So far, Alexandria, I think the traffic seems a little bit worse, especially on the Corniche.
We should wait to give our impressions. We'll have a whole other podcast about it.
Yeah, we'll see, but...
Yeah, we'll let you know how it is, because we really have only been to the hotel and that fish
I have
so
a
far.
feeling, part of me feels like we may have stayed in in a suboptimal area for getting to where we want to be.
It's tricky, yeah, I agree, because I think that, like, it's like, oh, you want, like, you're staying in, like, a city with water, so you want, like, a water view, but it is kind of far from all the stuff that we're doing. But it's only a 10-minute, taxi ride, so it's not that big of a deal. But
I will say this area that we're staying in, I don't feel as
a
like...
little rundown, yeah. A little sad.
I don't feel as... not only that, I just don't feel like as interested in it as I did, like, Zamalek. You know what I'm saying?
But
like,
I will
it doesn't
say,
feel as
actually, our
immediately-
very first day in Zamalek, I don't know if you remember, but when we went to the area by Tahrir Square and by the koshery place, you were like, oh, I wish we had stayed here. And then by the end of our trip, you were like, if I were to live here, I'd live in Zematic. So, first impressions can change.
Yeah.
I don't think we live in this area, though. But just to say that I think, like, we haven't seen the city yet, so we'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyway. All right.
Oh, I have thoughts about how it's sad that the ocean got cut off, but I'll save that for the Alexandria episode.
Yeah, they cut off beach access here because they're widening the road.
They put like a highway like right by the ocean, which is like so
Yeah,
sad and depressing, but whatever.
Kind of reminds you of Pittsburgh
Yeah, it does actually.
with all them. Anyway, all right. Sorry for the bad audio quality, but that's it.
Bye.
Bye.